to the Whoa, That's Good podcast. So excited to have you two on. You guys are incredible humans, and we haven't got to spend too much time together, but we always kind of like, our paths have crossed a lot. So
all the time.
I do. Well, thank you so much for having us, Sadie. We're so happy to be here and just to have a great conversation.
And congratulations to you on everything that you have going and the way you're making an impact all over the world. Through this, but through your speaking, through your family, through just your heart. Yeah,
thank
super cool. We love watching it and from afar, so we're grateful for you.
Oh, y'all are so encouraging.
Such a great inspiration to not just me, but I know so many young women. So thank you just for everything that you stand for and you know, just so firmly believe in.
That means so much. Seriously, thank y'all, and thank you for all the things that y'all do. I was trying to, study for this podcast, and I was like, man, they are doing so much, and it all is just for like the betterment of the world. And so thank you for living such humble lives and just furthering the kingdom. It's incredible. So I can't wait to chat. But before we kind of get into more questions, we have to start with the question of the Whoa, That's Go podcast. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given? Which I know is kind of a loaded question.
I love it. You want to go first?
Sure, yeah. Well, knowing that was the question, it kind of made me think a little bit, Sadie, and I think it's such a great conversation to have. And I think there's a lot of pieces of advice that, I've received through so many people in my life that has, spoken into my life in various just times of my life. But I think one thing that's been very prevalent, specifically in my life and just with my background and things that I've been so grateful to have had the opportunity to do is not just to focus on having self-confidence, but to turn that self-confidence into God-confidence. And once we really have God-confidence, that's when we can truly have self-confidence and know our self-worth and fully love ourselves, because we know the one that loves us the most, the one that created us perfectly, that made us fearfully. And how cool is it that we can have full confidence in knowing that he literally knit us together in our mother's womb, and you know all about that right now.
That's so good.
You're living that. So just to know that he so detailed and perfectly made us for a perfect plan. And I think only once I fully really comprehended that's the first time that I could really say that I've been able to have full self-confidence.
Wow, that's so good. That's so cool that you said that, because yesterday I shared a message and it was about comparison and stuff, and I read Psalms 139. And I was like, and literally every time I read it since I've been pregnant, it makes me cry, because it's just so cool. Because I've read that so many times with the perspective of almost like trying to believe that for myself. Like, you knit me together in my mother's womb. You formed me wonderfully and beautifully and fearfully made, and all those different things. I praise you. And it's always been kind of like a hard thing for me to believe. Like, I feel like it is for a lot of girls. But as soon as I got pregnant and found out it was a girl, that's like the easiest verse to believe, because it's so obvious that God has knit her together. Like, she started out this little poppy seed, and now when we see ultrasound, she has like a nose and eyes and a face, and she's a perfect little baby. And I'm like, I didn't have anything to do with knitting you together. Like, I've just been chilling. I've just been like eating a lot, sleeping, puking every now and then, but God has knit her together, and it's so easy to praise him for that. And so that verse has been so heavy on my heart. So I love that you shared that. And actually, Tim, before we get to your best piece of advice, I actually had a question for you, and Demi, and this goes exactly with what you were just saying. So you were Miss Universe, which, by the way, that's so cool. Like, like just saying that, I'm like, dang, that is really cool. So congratulations on that. But, I think in the pageant world, it's so tempting to compare yourself to other people. And not just the pageant world, that's every girl in the world. And so how did you, or maybe when was it that you kind of busted through that comparison thing and finally were just like, you know what, this is who I am, and I'm going to own that?
Well, I love that you asked that, Sadie, because I feel like winning Miss Universe obviously took some confidence, right? And maybe in my case, it was a whole lot of self-confidence, because I feel like ever since winning that title, I've been able to grow so much more. And thinking back now over the past 3-4 years, sometimes I just think, and it makes me so sad, because I know that so many nights I went to bed because I washed my confidence off together with my makeup. And that was what, not necessarily just makeup, but just all of it, the makeup, the hair, the clothes, the shoes, the events, the glamour, the glitz, the excitement of traveling all over the world. And once I handed over that title, Sadie, it just all ended. It all ended, and I wasn't Miss Universe the next day. And it really just made me kind of, just stand still and go and reevaluate. Well, hang on, I'm not Miss Universe, I'm Demi, actually. Wow. And who is Demi? And it just led me to asking so many questions, lots of tears, lots of just praying. And I think it's, for young girls, I just want them to know that it's okay to seek that person, to seek who you are. And for me, where I found that was just spending more time in God's word, in his presence, praising and worshiping. And it's different for each of us to find, a way to get to that point. But it was I feel like it's just a continual journey. It's not like you just wake up the one day and you're perfect and you feel great. You still have sucky days. I still have pimples and breakouts, and but that's not the things that we can put our confidence in. I can't remember where I read this, but someone once wrote, having full confidence is having confidence in who God says I am. And you read stuff so many times, just like you were saying, you read so much about Psalm 139, but it sometimes, it just takes a specific moment for that to click. And I feel like just spending more time in God's word, in his presence, and just really letting go and letting God has kind of brought me to that point.
That's so good. I love that. I think that's going to encourage so many girls, because obviously not everyone is Miss Universe, but everybody has gone through that struggle of trying to find confidence in what other people say that they are, the achievements that they've done, or the thing that people know them as. But you're right, those things fade. The filters don't go with you in your everyday life. You don't get to caption your day exactly how you want to form it. You don't get to always look the way that maybe you think is at your best. And so it's in those moments that you ask yourself, who am I? And can I be confident and who I originally was created to be? And so I love that. I know that's going to help so many girls. All right, Tim, what's the best piece of advice that you have ever been given?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. I would say the best piece of advice would be formed around the idea of this is not our home. Philippians tells us that we're citizens of heaven. Heaven is our ultimate home. So why spend a life building up for a place that we're going to leave? But I would rather spend a life building up for the place that we're going to go to, right? So all my stuff, I want it to be there. I can't, there's no U-Hauls behind the hearse, So guess what? We can't take it with us. So you know what? I would rather spend a life of building up there, building God's kingdom, sharing the good news of the gospel, spending a life built on eternity, the things that are going to last forever. And in my opinion, the things that are going to last forever from this earth are God, his word, people, and rewards. And so we better spend a life focused on things that are going to last for eternity. When I'm spending time with God, that's going to last for eternity. When I'm his word is going to last for eternity. When we're loving, helping, caring, serving people, that's going to last for eternity. And what we do for him in the rewards, that's going to last for eternity. The Bible is clear in so many different ways. And I think the greatest form of a reward is hopefully that moment where we get a well done, my good and faithful servant. But I think it's going to be just so much more intimate than that. And so that would be the best piece of advice, kind of all summed up into one, is
I love that.
Let's live for our ultimate home, not just our temporary home.
I love that. That's so good. Y'all are preachers. Y'all are both like motivational speaker preachers. I can't wait, which no rush, but whenever y'all have kids, just to see their little confidence, because they're going to have two parents who are like so motivating. But it's funny because we have a mutual friend, the Giglios, and whenever we were planning Passion last year, it was just so awesome how Louis talks about you. And he was like, man, I mean, if you just put Tim anywhere and he's just going to preach. I mean, it's just so in him. And it's true. And I remember I said one day, I was like, man, we need some more girls up there. And I was like, I've actually never even spoken to Demi. I was like, but does she preach? And we were like, I don't know. And now I'm like, yeah, you do. And so your next time you need to be up there.
You're so sweet.
Friends, if you haven't heard about Skillshare, you need to hear about it, because Skillshare is an online platform where you can go and you can take classes of most anything you can think of to help you further or become more advanced in whatever you love to do. So what I chose to do is a DIY product photography class, which helps me take photos of my products, which is really nice for me to have because we have different products for Live Original, and we always need a photographer, but it would be nice if I could just do it myself sometimes. So I took a class from Daniel and Rachel, and they taught me some incredible things. One of that being that you actually don't have to have a professional camera for it to look like a professional picture. You could actually use your phone to do that. And so learning how to use my phone to make the most of what I have was really helpful. But there's so many different classes for you that you could try. There's one on portrait photography if you're into that. There's also one on finding your style with fashion. I mean, there's so many different things. Honestly, whatever you're into, I'm sure you can find it on Skillshare. So you can go on Skillshare, bring some color, bring some fun into your life, go learn a little bit more about something. It's also incredibly affordable, which is nice, especially when compared to pricey in-person classes and workshops elsewhere. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. So go explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/whoa. That's WHOA, and get a free trial to the premium membership. You can get a free trial to your premium membership if you go to Skillshare.com/whoa right now. Go check it out. But I love that advice, and you can see that played out in y'all's life with everything that y'all do. I was writing down some of the stuff that I collected that y'all do, but I think there's so much more. Tim, I know that you're a pro athlete. Y'all preach, y'all speak. You do Night to Shine. Y'all help end slavery through your foundation. The list goes on. Demi, you've done all those things with Tim, plus so much more. I know you are doing something with Altered State now, and you look so cute. Y'all just do so much. And maybe what you just said is the answer to this question, but what keeps y'all motivated, and what keeps that drive going to just keep starting new things and putting out new things?
You want to go first?
You go first.
To me, that answer is pretty easy, Sadie, is that we only have one life, one chance. And I'm not just talking about Eminem song, right? We really do. We only have, one opportunity, right? And I love in Hamilton, how he talks about nonstop, how he was so motivated for an incredible cause of defending the U.S. Constitution, right? And I remember we were together on a date watching Hamilton, and I just started to cry watching the play. And I'd seen it already 2 times before we went, and I was crying because, you know what, they were talking about Hamilton like he needed tomorrow to arrive because he was so passionate about what he did. Well, you see, what he did was awesome. It was noble. It's cool. It's a good thing. But what we get to do is so much better than what he did. What we get to do is we get to bring the good news of great joy that's for all the people. We get to share the good news of the gospel. We get to live the good news of the gospel. We get to present it. We get to share it. We get to go be co-laborers with the God of this universe. Like, that's crazy. And so, but we only have however many days, and we don't know how many days, but he does. And so, you know what? Every one of those days, I want it to count.
It's good.
I don't want to waste my days. I don't want to waste my time, because I think, Sadie, one of the greatest forms of tragedy is when we look back and we say, you know what, we were successful in all the ways that don't matter.
Wow.
And I don't want to be successful in things that don't matter.
Wow.
I want to be significant in things that do matter.
It's great.
And I want to, have is a relentless effort and focus for the things that really matter and the people that matter, which is all people, because the Bible is very clear. It's good news of great joy that should be for all the people. And you know what? We don't get to play God. We get to serve God. And we believe God loves all people, all humanity, all the time, no matter what. And we should too.
That's so good. I love that.
And Sadie, I'm specifically just very passionate about the fight against human trafficking, and that's been something that Tim and I have been able to really work together on, which has been awesome. And actually, COVID really led to us getting
way deeper into
the fight.
Because we had way more time.
Yeah, wow. And also because COVID, just so many cases just spiked, so many.
Especially like online sexual exploitation of children went crazy.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Because the children are trapped with their traffickers, the people are trapped with their traffickers. It was so much harder for anyone to get saved or escape, or and that just really we knew that if we're gonna make any dent in this crazy evil, which we believe is one of the greatest evils that we face in our world today, is that we're going to need hands, to people to jump into this fight with us, to take hands, to stand together, and just to join forces, because there's an estimated 40.3 million people trapped in human trafficking right now, and Sadie, sometimes
and it's only going up.
It's only going up. It's $150 billion estimated industry
annually.
Wow. Crazy. I mean, the stats are just so heart-wrenching. But it sometimes gets so overwhelming, because you look at this big picture and you realize there's 40.3 million people estimated trapped in trafficking. How am I going to make a difference? Well, guess what? What really keeps me going is knowing that even helping one woman get saved, one child get saved, one man get saved is worth it, because that one person is worth it, because they are a part of God's creation. And I believe that it's our job to help give them the opportunity to be a part of God's kingdom.
And I think one of the things that it gets overwhelming for a lot of people when you hear about it and you look at it, you say, "Oh my gosh, what can I do? I'm not a Navy SEAL. How can I go rescue? I'm not Green Beret. What can I do? I'm not But we all have a part to play, and we all can make a difference, and we all have something. People don't realize so much of it is familiar, meaning coming from your family. We all can be taught and learn what to look for, how to help. With safe homes, for us it's 3 different parts. It's phase 1 is supporting strong families. So when families are looking like they could be trafficking one of their family members, then we want to be able to help before that even happens. And phase 2 is the rescues, whether that's here in the States or it's around the world in other countries, is to rescue as many as possible, bring them to a safe location. Then phase 3 is long-term restoration. We want to be able to put a support staff and team and counselors and prayer warriors around all of these girls to be able to love them. And sometimes it takes a really, really long time. And it's hard because there is so many wounds and hurts and scars. But we know that our God is a really big God. And you know what? I really do believe this is the greatest form of evil in the world today. And but we also have a big God, and we also know that He overcame the world, and He can do amazing things. And so we do believe that when we rally together as an army of people that stand for doing good, that stand for people, that stand for God's word, that stand up for Him, that what, God can come through, and we can have some victories in this against this horrible evil that we know. Our biggest enemy, the devil, is definitely for. You know what? And he's working behind the scenes, and so we need to know that we have an enemy in this, and he's working. And you know what? He doesn't want us to band together. He doesn't want the 300,000 churches in the U.S. to work together. Could you imagine if that happened? If we put down the banner of this denomination or this denomination, or the banner of we wear ties and you don't wear ties, or we're from Florida, or you're from Louisiana, and so we can't work together. But what if we put down that banner and we put up a banner that said Jesus and people, and that's what our focus was, and we rallied together? That would be pretty crazy, but it would also be pretty amazing, the impact.
Yeah, come on.
I love that you mentioned that. Sadie, one of the girls that is a survivor and that was able to, go through the whole restoration process. She actually was identified as a trafficking victim by a hospital, and today she works as a nurse in that same hospital. How amazing is that? So just hearing, so many stories of hope and restoration really just makes you
so encouraging.
You can't turn away from that.
And there's another amazing young girl that just started seminary.
Yeah. Wow. Come on.
It is so awesome. Yeah. So just so many stories that you just,
that's incredible.
It's just, it can be so encouraging and inspiring to
That's
keep
incredible.
Going.
Well, thank y'all for sharing that, because I know a lot of people need to be educated on that, including myself, and then also sharing the hope that y'all see to just motivate people that what y'all are doing and things like the organizations that you have, like that's truly making a difference. Like that truly is changing things. And so I think sometimes it's so easy to look at such a big problem, like you said, be like, how can I help? What could I do to change that? But it really does take people believing that what they could do, what they could bring is actually going to create change. All right, friends, I'm being a real one to you right now. Everybody needs to go get Birdie. You heard me. That is Birdie. Birdie is a way that you can feel safe wherever you are. So add it to the list of things that you grab when you walk out the house. You need to grab your phone, your keys, your purse, and Birdie. Birdie is incredible. Sometimes it's hard to not think about the what ifs in life. What if something bad happens? What if I get put in a situation of danger? And you want to know that you have something that you could rely on to help you in that moment. Well, Birdie is a great option. It's a personal safety alarm that's so easy to carry, and it's super simple to use. When you activate your Birdie, you just quickly pull out the Birdie, and an alarm will emit a loud 130 decibel siren and a flashing strobe light to help you get away from an attacker or you being attacked. It's incredible. Unlike pepper spray or anything else, it's not a danger to you. It just simply alarms the situation and helps you get out of it, which is incredible. Over 300,000 Birdie alarms have been sold, and they have thousands of 5-star reviews. So know that this is a pretty legit thing. So go join the flock today for a safer tomorrow by getting Birdie. Right now, She's Birdie is offering Whoa That's Good listeners 15% off your first purchase when you go to shesbirdie.com/whoa. That's She's Birdie spelled SHESBIRDIE.com/whoa for 15% off your first purchase. These are so cute, so fun, and also will keep you so safe. That's shesbirdie.com/whoa. We had Torin on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was talking about, he's awesome, and he was sharing about the song idea, and he was talking about how, like, he thought, okay, I need to go start this organization, I need to do this, and then he was like, well, why does it have to be me? Like, Tim and Demi are already doing this. Why can't I just join forces with them? And it was this beautiful moment of him realizing, like, I can just collaborate. Like, the kingdom of God is so big. Like, God created us like that, like as a family, as a body. And so we can help one another. And it was really inspiring. And so for our listeners, we have a significant amount of listeners. What is something practically that we can do to help what y'all are doing today? Like, is there a place we can go to online and give? Or what's the best way that we can support what y'all are doing?
Well, the easiest way to be able to, first of all, there's a lot of amazing organizations, nonprofits, teams that people could join. So we'd never really say you need to join ours. If you want to, that's amazing. We'd love it. But there's a lot of great ones. And so we would just say, we would encourage people to be involved in something. It doesn't have to be with us.
That's good.
But you be involved in something. You go do something. And if you really want to be involved with us, there are 3 easy ways that you could get involved, one or all 3. And one of them is being a prayer warrior. So we call it lifting.
Well, backtrack. You can sign up to be a part of the rescue team.
Yes.
And the rescue team consists of being prayer warrior.
One is a prayer warrior.
Awesome.
We don't think it's our last defense. It's our first defense. And we send out, hey, there's rescues taking place. There's girls that are hurting here. Will you be praying? And obviously we don't give away too much information, but we want to give just away enough so people can know what's involved. And so they can be praying specifically for certain things without putting anybody at risk. The number 2 would be to be an advocate, we say speak up for. And so we would share materials, information, what's happening, stats, and really be able to give you enough information so you feel knowledgeable and be educated. So then you can be an advocate. First, get your family together, then maybe your school, then maybe your team or community, and then you can start educating them. So you can be an advocate to really speak up for, to use your voice to make other people aware. And then the third one is to be a defender, to really stand up for. And that will be ones when there's rescues and we got 13 girls and we need some beds and mattresses and socks and shoes and hair ties and toothbrush and so many different things that are essential. And a lot of people don't think about that as there's a rescue, but you have to have everything on the back end already planned and ready for the beds ready, the toothbrushes, the dentist appointments, all these other things to be able. And so that is something that we share with the team, the defenders, to say, hey, could you help with XYZ, and maybe they're connected to people that, hey, they can get toothbrushes, they can get hair ties, they can get whatever, and they can find ways to get it donated. So those are 3 very easy, practical ways of being a prayer warrior, being an advocate, being a defender. And maybe you want to be all 3. Maybe you want to be lifting up, speaking up, and standing up for, which is what we want to do as well.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I think people want to help, but just don't know that people know how to help. And so that is so helpful. And also just everything I've already said leading up to this point about like making your life count. We only have one life, we got to live it to the full. We have to do things that, knowing that this world is not our home, but we have been placed here for a time, to hopefully make it better. And so all of this is leading to that, and I think that's amazing. I know you have a new kids book out, which I want to show everybody because I'm really excited about this, because I did just get my little library. I'm getting it all set up in her baby room because I have so many kids books and I love it. But one of the things you talk about is, well, you kind of allude to this, is that all of these characters like Bronco and the rabbit and the bird and the goat, they all have like kind of something a little bit wrong with them. Like Bronco has bad vision, the rabbit has long ears, the bird can't fly, the goat has allergies. Like everybody kind of has something off. And you guys, I've watched like you care so much for all people. You've said that so many times. It's Jesus and people. It's all people. It's the people who feel left out. It's the people who feel or who are enslaved. It's all different types of people. Where did that compassion come from for you to constantly be seeking for that one person who might feel left out, or the one person who might feel different than everybody else? What was that kind of burden on your heart? Where did that come from?
Yeah, really good question, Sadie. It came from, I think God put it in me when I was really young, but I think it really touched my heart for the least, the last, the lost, the throwaways. When I was 15 and I was in a remote village in the Philippines, and I met a boy in this village who was born with his feet on backwards, and the village viewed him as cursed. As less than, as insignificant, and literally they believed the more that you touched him, the greater chance of becoming cursed yourself.
Wow.
And he was literally known as like the throwaway, and I just knew that he wasn't a throwaway to God, and he couldn't be a throwaway to me. And I fell in love with him, and God broke my heart, and I knew driving down that mountain, leaving that village that day, after that boy prayed with me to receive Christ, and I looked at him and said, his name was Sherwin. Sherwin, I don't know if I'll ever see you in America, if you'll ever see me again in the Philippines, but I totally believe one day I'll see you in heaven. Wow. And he looked at me and he said, Kuya Timmy, which means brother, I can't wait to run with you in heaven. Aww. And it's a boy who's never walked a day in his life.
Wow.
But I knew getting in the Jeep and driving down that mountain that I love sports and I was passionate about it, but I had a new, deeper, more meaningful, more purpose-filled calling now in my life, and that was to fight for people that couldn't fight for themselves. And our mission statement at TTF was really from that encounter to bring faith, hope, and love to those needing a brighter day in their darkest hour of need. And to really sum it up, it's a fight for people that can't fight for themselves. And, I want to fight for all people, but specifically, I feel like the big calling on my life is to fight for the least, the last, the lost, the people that have been past or around, the people that haven't been celebrated, the people that don't know what it's like to go down the red carpet or cheered for, the people that no one's ever shared their worth or their value. But we get to share their God-given value and their God-given worth. And so whether that's the special needs, it's the orphaned, it's the abandoned, it's the trafficked, it is the those with life-threatening illnesses, our heart and my heart, and I believe the calling on my life is to not just passively do it, but to actively seek and find and love and care for, and to share the God-given worth that only He can give to every single person, especially those that have been forgotten.
Wow, it's so good. That's so beautiful. And I hope, even as people listen, maybe they haven't had that moment where they've experienced knowing somebody who has a disability like that. But I hope that even hearing your story would enlighten people's eyes to see that there are so many people out there who feel less than, or feel, even if it's just awkward or don't feel like they fit in, that we can reach out to and extend our heart to. And that's the call of Jesus for our life. And it's so cool because I had this question I was going to ask y'all, but it's so irrelevant because it's so obvious what the answer is. I was going to talk to y'all about how y'all both experienced so much fame, but you've been so grounded in your faith. And, the question would be how, but the question is so obviously answered by how you live your life, because it's not about you. Y'all have never made it about you. It's always been about God. And whenever you come under God, that's what I tell people for me too. It's like, you can't even try to make it about you, because it's so obviously God that has orchestrated your whole life to get where you are. It's so obviously God that you're in the position you are to give back to people who need, to grow the kingdom. And y'all just do such a beautiful job at that. So just thank y'all for living your life, such an obvious example of what it looks like to just live as humble leaders.
Well, I think we're trying, but I'll tell you, for me, I failed at that so many times, Sadie. I have got caught up in what I thought at times was everything. I got to have this win, or I got to get this, or I got to do this, or, I got to prove the doubters wrong. And whether that's been for a minute, for 5 minutes, for a day, for a week, for a year, there's been too many times where I've lost track of what's most important.
Right.
And I'm so grateful for the times like with Sherwin, or other times in my life where God's reminded me, hey, I didn't put you here for a game. I didn't put you here to try to win a championship or a trophy.
It's good.
I put you here to help people, to love people. And there's been way too many times in my life that I've lost sight and track of that, but I'm grateful that God has, every time brought someone or something into my path to help give me that perspective. And that's why I also think that having wise counsel around you and being in God's word is so important, because His word is also our direction, and wise counsel can also be that wisdom that helps lead us back to the road that we're supposed to be on. And so I would encourage people is listen, I think it's going to be true for most people, is all of a sudden we deviate a little bit, but then God's word helps us get back to where we're supposed to be. And the wise counsel is so important and to help us get back. And so I'd encourage people is don't feel like if you've got off track that you can never get back, right? Let's look at a lot of the heroes in the Bible. A lot of the biggest, best heroes in the Bible, some of them got pretty far off track,
True.
But our God is a God not just of second chances, but a third and a fourth. And He's a God of correction and discipline and training, but also in a loving way. Is 30 times in Proverbs there is the Hebrew word musar that is used, and it's used for correction, for discipline, for training, for instruction. And Proverbs is so clear about it. That's why it says it 30 times, is that we should be open to that. We should be open to God's correction and training and discipline and instruction, but also we should seek it. Yeah. We should seek it from our pastors and friends and wise people and parents and everybody in our lives, so that, because sometimes we might be veering off track and we don't even realize it. And so those people can help gear us back. And I'm just grateful that God's given me so many chances when I've either just deviated for, whatever. I just my perspective gets lost to what is most important. But then most of the time, it's actually meeting other people that bring it back. It's meeting Sherwin. It's meeting kids with life-threatening illnesses. It's meeting other people in countries that are hurting, and it brings me back to, dang, Timmy, why are you so stupid? You got caught up in X, Y, and Z, but what matters is this. What matters is God. What matters is loving people. What matters is growing closer to Him. And so I'm just grateful that God could even use us after we screw up.
Hey, preach. Everybody needs to hear that, because man, thank God He is not a God that just, one strike and you're out. He's such a God of redemption, and that's what repentance is all about. I love that you mentioned wise counsel. And one of the things, because I know you guys just hung out with my parents, and I was like, Mom, so tell me about them. Like, what'd you learn about them while you were with them? And she was like, one of the things that really stuck out to me was how they talked about how they intentionally sought out mentors and wise counsel whenever they were dating. I thought that was really cool. And so, Demi, I want to ask you about like y'all's dating life, because so many people are lost in the world of dating. How do I date in a godly way? How do I date right? How do I date in an intentional way? And so what were some of the things as y'all dated that y'all were intentional about that you think led y'all to the point of being able to commit to a lifetime together?
Well, Sadie, I think first of all, how we met was a very integral part of our relationship, and I feel like that kind of just laid down the foundation for our relationship. And I don't know if you actually know this, but I had a baby sister with special needs. She was born without a cerebellum. Long story short, it's just small brain. Wow. And she passed away in May of 2019. But before about a year before she passed, Tim and I got connected through Night to Shine, which we actually just had a couple weeks ago. Which
you were supportive of, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Just for those of the listeners that don't know, it's a worldwide prom for people with special needs. In 2018, when I lived in New York as Miss Universe, the first Night to Shine was held in South Africa. The first one that was held in South Africa happened that year. And so my sister got invited, and although she was not physically able to attend, my parents were volunteers, and long story short, we got connected through something that we both deeply care about, that we're both deeply passionate about. And, my little sister was our matchmaker, but in a big way that really just laid down the foundation for our relationship.
Wow.
And speaking of wise counsel, I think, that's just something so important. And to be honest, it's really something that I've learned from Tim. Throughout our dating period, if you want to call it that, we've just really tried to do devotionals together. We did long distance, so I would go
most of our dating time is long distance.
Pretty much everything. Yeah. I would go into like a bookstore and buy 2 of the same devotional and like FedEx it to him. That's and awesome. Then I'll have one, and every night we'll have date night, and we will like have a specific time when I know like his baseball game would end at that time, whatever, and we do devotionals together. Awesome. And I think not just that, but getting on phone calls with pastors. Pastor Louis was played a really integral part in our relationship. Just having that I guess courage to ask hard questions, to work through things, was very important, I think, in our dating and just period. One thing that I really liked that we did was we read a lot of books together as well, and sometimes that really helps you to gain.
I was going to say, get into new conversations.
Get into new conversations.
Yes.
Because sometimes it might be things like, if you're just talking, you talk about whatever
how was your day?
Whatever pops up. But sometimes if new things can, I've never thought about it that way, and we talk about it. Or, I've never heard it that way, we talk about it. Or
like bigger questions.
Yeah, and deeper. And so I totally agree. I think that not only I actually think the questions that the books led us to were more impactful than the books actually were.
Yeah.
That's
because
so
it led
true.
us to better conversations.
Good. That's so true.
Yes.
I learned so much from you, and I think you learned so much from me.
Yeah. And just, what do you think of that? And it just brought up really sometimes weird, sometimes awesome, profound, but whatever is just really good. And so that was.
I love that.
I think a blessing of dating, and doing it long distance was just that we were forced to just have really good conversation and to learn to communicate efficiently. And I think that was a really big lesson.
Yep.
But to go back to part of your question, I do think the wise counsel is it's something we really rely on, because we don't want to rely on our own wisdom, our own strength, but we want to get wisdom and ask people, do we have a blind spot? Can you see it for us? Can you help us? Give us wisdom. Yep. I want to be not only connected to the source of life in my relationship with God, but I also want to have wise people that I know love him or following him speak into my life.
That's great.
And I want that correction, that discipline, that instruction, that knowledge, Yep. So that we can learn and get better. And I think that was very important to us. And I think we've learned so much from that. But I would also say, kind of getting a little bit different to the dating part is, so many people, especially early on, they were like, oh, what do y'all have in common? Like, she's been all into pageants and you're all into sports. And I haven't watched a lot of pageants, and she's never seen a baseball or football game. And
at that point, I've seen many now.
A couple.
That's awesome.
And the one thing that I learned, and I really believe, is that a strong relationship isn't built on what you have in common. It's built on what you have in purpose.
It's good.
And we have a lot in purpose. And on the surface, we don't necessarily love a lot of the same things in common.
Yep.
We don't shop at the same stores. Our favorite movies aren't the same. Our favorite foods aren't the same. Yeah. Our backgrounds and cultures aren't the same. Now, I love learning from her and hers and South African culture and Afrikaans culture, and that's awesome.
That runs dry.
But it does. It's just it's surface level. But you know what? The things that we really are most passionate about is growing closer to the Lord. Is how can we help people? How can we help hurting people, special needs? God called my heart to it, and then God gave her a baby sister with special needs, and so. Then it was like all of the most important things to us were the same.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, you watch a pageant, I'll watch a game, and we'll sit beside each other,
That's so good.
That's okay. I didn't need or want to come home and say, hey, babe, I went 1 for 3 with the walk, and let's talk about your at-bats, right? And she didn't want to come home and probably have me say, oh, what heels did you pick tonight?
That's so good. Yo, it's so cool. Our stories are so similar. Like, Christian and I were long distance most of our our whole relationship until we got married. We weren't even together when we got engaged. We were long distance the whole time, and it helped our communication so much. And one of the things we did was, like, we read through Proverbs together, and then we read Single Day Engaged Married. We read Mingling of Souls. We read all these incredible books, and it set us up to not talk about ourselves, but to really not just talk about ourselves, but to really talk about what we're learning about God, what we're learning about the world, what we're learning about each other. And it really did strengthen our relationship so much. And I can't, attest more to the wise counsel, even to this day in our marriage. Like, that's not just in dating or engagement. Like, the other day, Christian and I had this little argument, and then he goes away, he comes back, he's like, oh, I just talked to my pastor about it, and I just feel like I have such a greater perspective. And then we're able to have like a healthy conversation because we have this wise counsel speaking into it. So you guys set a great example for that. I'm so glad you shared that because it's so similar to us. One of the things Ben Stewart says in his book is he says, a marriage on mission is a marriage that lasts, and y'all are clearly just on mission together. Y'all have so much purpose together. And I'm so thankful that you took some time to share your heart with us, to share some of the things y'all are doing. I hope and pray that all of our listeners get behind it. And like you said, I love how you said not just what y'all are doing, but just the overall mission of what y'all are trying to do in this world to make it a better place. So thank y'all for who you are, what you're doing, the marriage example that y'all set. Christian and I are so for you guys. And thanks for being on the Whoa, That's Good podcast.
Well, we're so grateful. Thank you for having us. And again, thank you for everything that you've done, you're going to do. We know that you're going to change so many lives through your life and through what God's going to do through you. And we're just so grateful, and we're cheering you on, and we're rooting you on, and we're here for you whenever you need us.
I can't wait to meet baby girl.
I know. I'm so excited for baby girl. I guess at the next Passion, she'll be there. But hopefully we get to hang out before that. We actually need to hang out. We would love that. We would love to see you guys.
We look forward to it.
Come get some good Florida weather anytime.
Hey, we just might. That's tempting. Well, again, thank y'all so much. Y'all are the best.
Hello.
Hey, is this Emma?
It is.
What's up, girl? It's Sadie and Christian.
Hey, Emma.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so excited. How's your day going?
You know, I'm studying for a chem test, all the college things.
Nice.
That sounds brutal.
Nice. What year are you?
I'm a freshman this year.
Nice.
At
Cool.
UGA.
Oh, amazing. Awesome. Well, it's so fun to talk to you. What was the question that you sent in?
Okay, so for a tiny bit of background, I went to church in elementary school. Then, my family kind of fell off, and I didn't start going again until about halfway through high school. So obviously, there's a large chunk of time where I just wasn't learning anything about the Lord or the Word. So what is y'all's advice for someone who didn't really grow up in the church, and just advice on how to not get frustrated in that lack of knowledge?
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, that's a great question, Emma. And I think too, I think I can relate to that in the sense of I grew up in church, but there were still so many things that I did not know when I truly had my conversion with the Lord. But something that I can encourage you in, and it's something that I've really grown in kind of since quarantine started, is I've just been reading so much and just studying so much. And I know that, being in school and I'm sure all the tests and I'm sure all the stuff you have, it can be difficult to feel like you can study the Bible that much and dive into it that much. But just not because there are a lot of people who did grow up in church, but they don't really know what this stuff means. So just to encourage you of, maybe you feel like you lost a few years of where you, that time would have been devoted to the Word and would have been devoted to studying. But there's no better time than now. And I just encourage you just to start reading now and start asking questions, find people who do know things, and don't be intimidated by that, but just be encouraged by that and reach out to them for help and advice.
Yeah, and the thing is, like Christian said, the reality is you could have been in church your whole life and still felt like a lack of knowledge because, ultimately church is just an hour and a half maybe on a Sunday, but it's the rest of the week that we have to truly, pursue the Lord and read His Word to develop a relationship with Him. I love church. I think church is amazing, but I'm just saying that's not the end-all, be-all for your relationship with Christ. And so one of the things I would encourage you with practically is, if you're like, oh, I don't know all the stories, or I don't know this, honestly get a children's Bible story book because they're so easy to read, and that's a great way to learn all the stories. Another great resource is the Bible Project. You can go on the Bible Project and
on YouTube.
Christian and I watch those all the time. And any chapter of the Bible you can type in, and it'll just teach you in a 7-minute video of what the context of that book was. And so there are just so many ways that you can learn these days in a really easy but very efficient way.
Yeah.
And yeah, Christian and I were both like that. We grew up in church, but it wasn't until we started really pursuing the Lord on our own and diving deeper, reading the stories, all those different things, that we really had such a relationship with the Lord and felt more knowledgeable about the Scripture. But there's still so many things I don't know. That's what there will always be things that you don't know. That's what will keep you in the Word. So like Christian said, no better time but the present. Now's a great time to start. And it might take you a year to read the Bible and learn the things, but what's a year in the grand scheme of your life? You're only a freshman in college. 10 years from now, you'll be maybe married, maybe thinking about having kids, and you'll have all this wisdom from the years that you started pursuing God. And so you're not far behind. You're not slacking. You're right where you're supposed to be. And so I hope that encourages you, and go get some children's books and get to know the stories.
And read the Bible, look into the Bible Project.
Yeah, look into the Bible Project. I hope that's helpful, Emma.
It is. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was so fun to talk to you. Good luck on your chem test.
You're going to crush it.
Thank you.
All right, bye.